Good to have you with us on Ed Schultz News and Commentary. The Nation magazine, absolutely revered in the progressive movement, in spearheading so many progressive policies and cutting through all of the shafts, so to speak, to get to the issues in America. So highly respected in the progressive movement. The Nation magazine, 150 years old. For just the third time in its history, the liberal magazine The Nation has endorsed a presidential candidate, and that is Bernie Sanders. The endorsement comes on the heels of the news that the Vermont senator is reporting record fundraising hauls, and his endorsement by Move On, the liberal advocacy organization. They, of course, have to have 67% of their members to go with a candidate. Well, in a long, lengthy poll and survey, 78% of MoveOn.org members said Bernie Sanders should be the next president. So this brings us now to The Nation, which also makes a very rare move, but states it very clearly. While editors endorse Sanders, the endorsement acknowledged Sanders' path to the presidency isn't perfectly clear. He opposes Hillary Clinton in the primary, and the magazine's editors noted he lacks deep support among minority voters, but the endorsement stressed what it characterized as the independence of his campaign. The quote is, as they write, voters can trust Sanders because he doesn't owe his political career to the financial overlords of the status quo. Freed from these chains of special interest, he can take bold measures that the country needs, the editorial read. We now visit with Katrina Vanden, who is the editor and part owner of The Nation magazine. Katrina, good to have you with us.
Thank you, Ed. The Nation rarely makes endorsements in Democratic primaries, and we've done so only twice. Jesse Jackson in 1988, Barack Obama in 2008. But this is a particularly important one because we believe that Bernie Sanders has used his insurgent campaign to tell Americans the truth about what's going on in this country. And he's called on the people to a political revolution, something you do, Ed, day in, day out, arguing, just as you said, that this country is of, by, for the people and shouldn't be of, by, for the big banks, the billionaires. Bernie Sanders is unbought. He is free to advance the bold agenda you mentioned. And in doing so, he has become an ally and a champion of the movements of our time, from the Fight for 15 to Black Lives Matter, immigrant rights, climate activists. So it's exciting. And I think Bernie Sanders, at this moment as we talk, we look out at Iowa and New Hampshire, and it's tight. It's very tight. And that is what this magazine called for more than a year ago. We said contested primaries, not only good for the country, the Democratic Party, democracy, good for the candidates.
But this endorsement, Katrina, this endorsement also says you think that Bernie Sanders should be the candidate, that he should be the next president of the United States.
We believe he would make a great president. He is calling on Americans to participate in rebuilding our country, taking back a government that has been captured by special interests, entrenched power. Don't give up on the government. Too many want to do that. Take it back, clean it up, make it work for ordinary people, make it work for the common good, as it should. And his proposals, Ed, from Medicare for All to breaking up the big banks to tackling corporate-defined trade agreements, all of this is so in sync with the values, the ideas the nation has championed for decades. We've been covering Bernie Sanders for close on to 30 years. I take special pleasure in seeing how millions of people are not only meeting Bernie Sanders, but meeting ideas that the mainstream corporate media has for too long tried to marginalize. And they are mainstream ideas. They demand attention. Only recently, as you know, Ed, you've been covering Bernie Sanders for years and years, but only recently and shamefully have the corporate media started covering Bernie Sanders in the way he deserves. They have lavished attention on Donald Trump and those rallies, when in fact last summer Bernie Sanders was galvanizing young people, progressives across this country. He is making inroads among African Americans, Latinos, Asian Americans, core Democratic constituencies. But, it's too early. A lot of people still haven't met him. I think the game is nothing's over till it's over. And the momentum that he could achieve coming out of Iowa and New Hampshire, fueled by the Move On endorsement, the people there activized, I think it's this whole election cycle, Ed, I don't need to tell you, could give one good vertigo and not so good vertigo, because who predicted we would be here just a few weeks before the caucuses, the primaries. It was an inevitability race because the media imposed a kind of inevitability template.
There's no question. And I don't think there's any doubt that when Bernie started getting a lot of money and started spending it wisely, that he started to move up. But it really became close, and then he moved ahead when the corporate media in this country, they had to cover him.
And they had to cover him,
and so now this is if you're in the Clinton camp, these are scary times.
I want to get to that, but I just want to say one thing I think we cannot lose sight of is what Bernie Sanders has shown is the unprecedented ability to raise small donations, and from a million plus, and to really challenge one of the fundraising machines of our times. And I think that is a message that is critical because he is unbought at a moment when 158 families or corporations have already funded half of this campaign. The Clinton campaign, don't need to tell you, is fighting back. I mean, there's no longer kumbaya time. But I'm very surprised, I have to say, that Hillary Clinton went after Bernie on Medicare for All, single payer. I mean, it is fair, she could have said, Obamacare has its problems, but it's what we could get through. The history of reform in this country, from Social Security to Medicare, is building on reforms. But instead, she's attacking his idea of Medicare for All and doing so in a way that is dishonest. And it just seems that it's a self-inflicted wound. It reminds people, I think, of Hillary Clinton's checkered history with health care reform. Seems to me she should be able to say that Medicare for All is the vision she wants to achieve, and it's going to be tough. But to dismiss the health care plan of Bernie Sanders as delegating health care to 50 states is, it's just mischaracterization, which is feeding ill will.
This is going to be a different debate.
It is.
And when Bernie Sanders comes back and says that attack by Clinton is mean-spirited and unfair, any moderator with his or her salt would make sure that they get to that issue right away, because it needs to be cleaned up. Now, I have to view it this way, Katrina. There's proposals of the past. There's votes of the past. Where are you now, and how are you going to do it? I think if you put Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders side by side, they both want universal health care. It's how they're going to get there is the big key. But to put forward the idea that he would turn it over to governors,
yes,
such as Terry Branstad, I think that is the stick in everybody's craw.
Absolutely. And I also, it's not the first time that Hillary Clinton has mischaracterized Bernie Sanders' proposals. Remember the first debate, as we head into the next one, she said Sanders' proposals in health care would cost 18 to 20 trillion. I mean, that was out of the Wall Street Journal, straight out of the Wall Street Journal, and in no way did it estimate the costs of Bernie Sanders' ideas, which would bring trillions of dollars of savings and benefits. We see that in industrialized Western countries around the world, where they do have a Medicare for All single-payer program. So I think there were legitimate ways to criticize Bernie Sanders, but this is going to backfire if you do have moderators worth their salt.
That's what I was waiting for you to say.
I
wanted your take on this. What's the outcome of this? What do you mean backfire?
I think it backfires because, as I said, first of all, I think the Democratic base, which is vital at this point, Medicare for All is real popular.
It is.
The Democratic base vote.
It was part of the party platform in 2008.
And Barack Obama, once upon a time, said that he would do single payer if he thought he could pass it. And now, building on Obamacare, trying to cover those still left out, Medicare for everyone is the next step. So I think, what it does? It also kind of reminds people, I hate to say it again, that Hillary Clinton's history with health care reform, it throws people into the past as opposed to her laying out a vision for the future. And again, I think it's vital that if we got some real moderation on Sunday night at the debate, that this be called out and that Bernie speak to it clearly, which I believe he will. Okay. But it's, it's part of, it just shows the Hillary Clinton camp is worried.
They're very worried.
That's part of a campaign. I mean, I'm surprised you said earlier, this has been a very serious campaign of ideas. It's terrific. It's been a clash of ideas, not like on the Republican side, a clash of vapid extremist Star Wars bar scene rolling around people. This has been a clash of ideas. And I think in that sense, Bernie Sanders deserves a lot of credit because he has said he doesn't want to attack Hillary Clinton. He wants to speak about the issues that this country deserves to hear.
And he hasn't attacked her. He's only defended himself at this point.
That's
Katrina
right.
Vanden, Heuvel, I'm back on TV, RT America, 8 o'clock Eastern, Monday through Thursday.
Terrific.
It's the News with Ed Schultz. I hope you'll join me.
Terrific. Congratulations. Look forward to seeing you, Ed.
Thank you, Katrina. Appreciate it.